the Ferrari. This is the final corner.
Max Verstappen's killer performance in Austin sent Red Bull into a frenzy, just when things weren't exactly peachy for them. The Dutch driver's show on the track not only wowed the crowd, but also got the big shots at Red Bull buzzing, providing the team with the kick it needed to get back in the game. Now, Max's journey from karting prodigy to Formula 1 hotshot has been filled with key moments that have shaped him into the sharp driver he is today. With a dad like Jos, a former F1 driver with just a couple of podium finishes to his name, and a mom, Sophie Kumpen, who knew her way around a kart, Max hit the tracks at the tender age of 4, as it was almost written in the stars. Jos took on the role of Max's sports coach, and let's just say his methods were tough but effective. The kid was shaped into a real powerhouse, fueled by a burning ambition and a fatherly push that included threats of a career behind the wheel of a truck or bus if he didn't step up. Talk about pressure. Jos even left him stranded at a gas station after blowing the karting world championship with a spin in 2011. But hey, turns out this questionable tactic did the trick, because the next year he owned the karting scene, and in 2013 he won 2 European championships and the world championship. While he was racking up wins, he was also catching the eyes of top international scouts. In 2014, at just 16, he made the jump to single-seaters in the FIA European Formula 3. Max dived headfirst into the title race, scoring 10 wins that year. But you know, life's not always a fairy tale, and he got edged out by the more seasoned Esteban Ocon, landing in a solid 3rd place. Still, this young Dutch dynamo outshone everyone, pulling off mind-blowing performances like leading every single lap at the F3 Masters in Zandvoort. His audacity, innate speed, and aggressive overtaking skills captivated the decision-makers at the Red Bull Junior team and Mercedes-AMG. Picture this. The big shots at the biggest F1 teams were fighting over a 16-and-a-half-year-old who just ditched karting. Everyone knew he was the new hotshot in town. But guess what? Mercedes couldn't seal the deal like Red Bull did. They threw him a Formula 1 seat at Toro Rosso for 2015. Now that's nuts. The Dutch dude barely had a season under his belt in single-seaters, skipping the whole Formula 2 or other typical pit stops that most drivers go through. Clearly, Red Bull saw something in him right off the bat, thinking he didn't need to go through the usual promotion hoops. Fast forward to October 2014, and Verstappen got behind the wheel of a Formula 1 car for the first time during the free practice session at the Japanese Grand Prix. The next season, he officially kicked off his F1 journey at the Australian Grand Prix in 2015, making history as the youngest ever driver in the category at 17 years and 166 days. His teammate at Toro Rosso was Carlos Sainz, coming off a World Series 3.0 win and a lot more experience in single-seater racing. Back then, Toro Rosso was a solid midfield team. They were all about hitting the points regularly. Big brother Red Bull, on the other hand, was on a mission to bring back the good old days and take down Mercedes. But guess what? 2015 was a bumpy ride for Red Bull. Their car was a mess, starting off worse than Toro Rosso. Both Daniel Ricciardo and Daniil Kvyat couldn't get quite comfy in that beast. Now, here's where Max comes into play. The young Dutchman wasn't bothered by all the craziness at the pinnacle of motorsport. He was dead set on shutting up the naysayers who thought he was too green for Formula 1, and he bagged his first points in just the second race of the season at the Malaysian Grand Prix, pulling off some slick moves and finishing 7th. Kid had some serious skills from the get-go. After a few races where he couldn't catch a break, dealing with a slow car and some reliability issues, Max bounced back to snag some points in Austria. Hungary was where he really shone, just a hair away from the podium, nailed a cool 4th place. Then, in Singapore, he pulled off this epic comeback after getting stuck at the lights, charging from dead last and finishing a killer 8th. Max owned it during the second half of the season, outperforming his teammate Sainz and stacking up more points. But let me tell you about the race that sealed the deal for Max and got him that Red Bull promotion. It all went down at the United States Grand Prix in Austin, one of the sickest races that season. Max started in 10th, looking for some points, while his big bros Ricciardo and Kvyat were gunning to take on the Mercs and snag that elusive first win of the season. Before the race kicked off, it had rained, so the track was still wet, and all drivers started with intermediate tires. And let me tell you, it turned into a wild ride. Drivers were sliding off, crashing into each other, and the positions were changing like crazy. Now, in the middle of all this chaos, the two Red Bulls were going head-to-head with the Mercedes crew. And guess what? Verstappen wasn't holding back. He clawed his way up to 6th place, taking on the big shots like it was nothing. He was sandwiched between Vettel and Raikkonen's Ferraris and was giving the four-time champ a real run for his money while keeping the Finn at bay as the track started to dry. In fact, Verstappen had an epic showdown with Raikkonen, and the Dutchman's defense game was on point. Then, after a safety car period, Vettel zoomed past both Red Bulls. But hold up, Verstappen wasn't one to let the opportunity slide. He rode that momentum and breezed past his big brothers, locking down 4th place. Talk about making moves. The race was a total mess for both Red Bulls. Hülkenberg crashed into Ricciardo, basically killing his chances, and Kvyat went full speed into the barriers. Meanwhile, Verstappen held his ground with big shots and pulled off a killer 4th place, one of the coolest shows we've seen in ages. His solid handling of adverse conditions, avoiding major mistakes unlike the other Red Bull drivers, became a sensation in the media. It truly made Red Bull seriously consider promoting the young Dutchman to the A-team. Max wrapped up the season in 12th place with 49 points, way ahead of his buddy Carlos Sainz, who only bagged 18 points. It was a standout rookie season, and some folks were already betting on him making the jump to Red Bull real soon. And boy, it didn't take long for Red Bull to promote him. Just 8 races after the 2015 United States Grand Prix, they dropped the bomb. Verstappen's moving on up to Red Bull, starting from the 2016 Spanish Grand Prix, race number 5 of the season, replacing Daniil Kvyat. This move left everyone scratching their heads because it was out of the blue. Kvyat was pulling off some seriously cringeworthy moves, causing chaos in the 2016 Chinese and Russian Grand Prix. Mix that with Verstappen's raw talent and bam, decision made. Let's swap these drivers. So, Verstappen jumped onto the Red Bull's top-tier team, joining forces with Daniel Ricciardo. People threw shade at Red Bull, saying it was a risky and a snap decision. Kvyat? Poor guy found out while watching Game of Thrones of all things. Verstappen? He played it cool, saying he didn't call the shots and he was just ready to grab the opportunity. As usual, the two Mercedeses locked down the front row, with Daniel Ricciardo's Red Bull grabbing 3rd and Verstappen in a solid 4th position. Not bad for his first race with the team. Now, here comes Sunday, and oh boy, it got epic. Hamilton and Rosberg collided in the first lap and retired, giving a free pass to both Red Bulls. Ricciardo went for a 3-stop plan, but Verstappen flipped the script, stretching out his stint, and it worked like a charm. The Dutchman took charge in the second half of the race, holding off Kimi Raikkonen's Ferrari for a solid 30 laps without letting him pass. Thus, at 18 years, 7 months and 15 days, Verstappen became the youngest driver in history to win a race. So that move shut down all the haters, backing up Helmut Marko and Christian Horner's call, and established the Dutchman as the biggest sensation in recent times, with boundless potential. The rest is just pure history. He slowly took over as the team's main man, pushing out Daniel Ricciardo, who had to leave the team by the end of 2018. Fast forward to 2021, the Dutchman kicked Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes off their throne, who had been running the show since 2014.
It's normally down into turn 5. Is Verstappen far enough back? He's going to make the lunge down the inside, but the championship can only be won by one, and it's going Dutch in 2021. Max Verstappen, for the first time ever, is champion of the world.
And hey, the guy hasn't stopped winning. With 3 titles already, he's cruising towards legendary status. Who knows how far he'll go? No one's got a clue, and I'm willing to bet you didn't have a clue about these 10 Formula 1 driver facts. Hit that click right here and brace yourself for some mind-blowing stuff. Just go for it, man.